AI art, more like AI fart. Ha ha ha, got him! Beep beep boop beep beep boop. Hello folks, welcome to Stuff I Make Because I'm Bored. My name is Sin and I will be your host, and today we're gonna discuss the real problem with AI. Specifically in art, but also in general. Right off the bat, I need you to understand that I love artificial intelligence and the pursuit of it. I think the technology is incredible and that the capabilities of it are astounding. In theory, the applications of AI are extensive and could be used to free humanity from the shackles of menial labor. But that's not really what's happening right now. Especially when it comes to AI in artistic fields. Maybe not even fields, but more so just for art in general. But to fully express my gripes with AI, we all need to be on the same page. So, what even is AI? If you were to ask the average non-chronically online person what AI is, they would probably name characters like Data from Star Trek, or the Terminator, or Cortana from Halo as being AI. They are machines with no organic material that can think, make decisions, and even exhibit emotions, although sometimes in a limited way. Thus, they have artificial intelligence. Wikipedia defines AI as intelligence, perceiving, synthesizing, and inferring information as demonstrated by machines, as opposed to intelligence displayed by humans or other animals. But in reality, AI doesn't really look like data quite yet. Currently, AI comes in the form of a program that is specialized in predicting or identifying specific patterns. We already use AI in a huge variety of settings. In fact, we use it in so many places that we don't even think of some of these applications as being AI, even though technically it is, like optical character recognition. Search engines, voice recognition, translation programs, and programs that can kick your ass at chess are all extremely widely used applications of AI. But how do they work? In order for a program to make decisions, much like a person, it first needs to know some basic things about the things that it's making decisions about so that it can infer new information. I had this whole segment written out with the minutiae and the jargon explaining things, but here's a short clip that will explain it better. Note that it is very reductive. Hello, program. Hello, father. I want you to identify pictures with balls in them. What is ball mean? A ball is a spherical object that is usually used in sports. What does spherical mean? A sphere is a shape where every point of the exterior is equidistant from the center. What does center mean? The center is the point, and that is what ball means. Thank you, father. Here is a picture. This is what a ball looks like. Okay. Here is another picture. This is also what a ball looks like. Okay. Here is another picture. This is also... I am now confident that I can identify a picture of a ball. Let's test you out. Here's a picture that you've never seen before. What is this? It is round and pink. It is a ball. Very good, very good. Here's another picture. What do you think this is? It is round and pink. It is a ball. That is not correct. This is not a ball. It is a Jigglypuff, as seen from above. That was a trick question, you son of a bitch! The important thing to realize from this example is that AI here does not see images the way that we see them. It doesn't see this as a white square with a ball inside of it. What the AI sees is white pixel next to white pixel next to white pixel next to white pixel next to pink pixel next to pink. So the more images we show in AI where we know that there is a ball, the more likely it is to recognize a section of pixels in this specific layout as a ball. It's pattern recognition. So now that we're all on the same page with what AI is and how it works, what is my problem with AI? How about the rampant theft of artwork, the use of voice actors' voices without their consent, the amalgamating of authors' hard work, and the destruction of art as we know it, and why doesn't anybody but artists care? Sorry, those were my feelings. Let's talk about facts. AI need datasets in order to develop their pattern recognition skills. Datasets are collections of information. And it's not just pictures. Datasets are what companies like Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube collect from you, the user, that contains stuff like how much time you spent on their site, what you interacted with, and for how long, etc. That information is then used to train AI to recognize the user's behavioral patterns so that they can better promote content to you. Or it's sold to advertising agencies in order to better sell products to you. The only reason this is legal is because most of the time when a dataset is created and sold by a company like Facebook, the individual user's information is deleted and reduced to a point of data. So instead of YouTuber user Zimbib watches videos like X, Y, and Z, A dataset will say, a user who watches videos like X also watches videos like Y and Z. The data is still useful to companies, but no matter what they do to the data, they can't actually trace it back to a specific person. In the case of other websites that you frequent, you've most likely agreed to allow them to do this by using their site. You agreed to YouTube keeping tabs on your history, recording your searches, and using your user data to better tune your feed to you. And for a site like YouTube, that by and large doesn't bother me that much. It's kind of integral to how the platform works at all. What does bother me is sites like Facebook using cookies to track your movement to other tabs in your browser and collecting that information to sell to advertisers or to use that information to better figure out who you are or whatever. And yes, they did recently get sued over doing that shit, and they lost. And this incredibly shady data collection is ramped up to 1,000 with companies like Midjourney and Stability AI, who are trained on datasets scraped by Lion 5B, a dataset full of 5.84 billion images and their descriptive text that they just ripped off the internet in a method called data scraping. None of the places that they got their data from consented to their data being used in this way. Me making a text post on Tumblr is not consent for some fuckwit from a different company to take that text and use it to train an AI that recreates stupid Tumblr text posts. In short, my issue with AI as it stands today is data privacy. And honestly, this is a whole topic on its own, but I'm focusing on AI for this specific video. I want companies like Stability AI and Midjourney to get blasted into the sun. Not only for what they're training their AI to do, but for their blatant and unethical theft and use of information. Yes, like it or not, if you put information on the internet, it's gonna be there forever for most anybody to see. Yes, if you don't want your data to be harvested by some dark, dank, evil corporate death machine, don't use the internet, I guess. I think that's a reductive and defeatist attitude. Just because bad actors exist doesn't mean that the internet is not this incredible thing where I've seen more art in my lifetime from more artists than my grandparents or even my parents could ever do when they were my age. Just because there's people who use the internet to scam others doesn't mean that I don't learn something incredible on YouTube every day. And just because there are some people getting away with theft doesn't mean that people don't deserve to have their rights protected. Okay, enough facts. Time to complain. Lion 5B is a dataset that is full of images that were illegally used to train AI whose sole purpose is to profit off the art that they stole. For those of you who don't know, artwork is automatically protected under copyright law as soon as it's created. This means that the art that they used, unless it was explicitly stated by the artist that other people can use this for commercial uses, were used to train the models illegally. And the CEO of Midjourney knows this and just claims it's impossible to get the consent of all the artists. The dataset is just too big. Yes, it is, but you chose to use this dataset. If you wanted to do this right and get permission, you could have done so. But no, if you wanted to get consent from all the artists whose work you want to rip off in order to profit off of them, you wouldn't get any artists, and your stupid generator program wouldn't be as good. We're even seeing cases of voice actors' voices getting stolen by companies they've read books for so that the companies no longer have to pay artists to read their books out loud. Remember how I said that the only reason collecting datasets was legal was because then there's no way to trace it back to the originals after the dataset was packaged? Then what is shit like this? I went looking for more articles to talk specifically about theft, and oh, looky here. The CEO of Stability AI is a lying piece of shit scumbag. Who could have foreseen this? And the people who are pro-AI claim that artists are being gatekeepers and that AI is good because it democratizes art. And then they use these AI theft machines and call themselves artists. Buddy, is someone holding a gun to your head and preventing you from picking up a piece of paper and a pen? On the one hand, they're constantly putting down artists, claiming that the work we do should be stolen, that it should be mashed up in this way, and this is what artists deserve for hoarding their skills. And on the other hand, they're desperate to be called artists themselves, because writing sentences into a computer program that does all the work for you is art. After all, when you tell a chef how to cook your food, you are the chef. When you tell a player how to kick the ball, you are the soccer man. What you are is a sad, jealous, annoying loser that simply refuses to put the time and effort into learning a skill. All you want is the reward, the praise, or the money that you're stealing from people by lying to them about doing commissions for them of custom artwork. And as for that annoying, well, how is it different from artists being inspired by artwork and using that to make more? Remember how I said that it just looks at pixel patterns and replicates that? When you show that program 50 images of Van Gogh, it learns that Van Gogh style things have pixels in this specific type of pattern, and that is all it sees. It cannot look at Van Gogh's Starry Night and feel the emotion that he poured into it. It cannot appreciate the colors that he used. It cannot understand why he chose the composition that he did. All it sees is a pile of pixels in the pattern that they represent. So that when you say shit like, give me the bathhouse from Spirited Away, as if Van Gogh painted it, all it thinks is, I have seen the pixel pattern of the bathhouse from Spirited Away, and I have seen the pixels that Van Gogh creates, and so, when I blender them together, this is the most likely result. And then you get the result. There is no inspiration here. The worst part of this stupid example is that now I have the image of the bathhouse from Spirited Away in the style of Van Gogh's Starry Night floating around in my head, and I want to paint it, god's damn it. Do you want to know the actual impact of AI art? It'll be the same thing that happened to the seamstress and the tailor. Instead of people getting articles of clothing custom made, which is vastly better for the environment but costs more money, and so people bought clothing less frequently, the rise of industrialization basically reduced demand for handmade clothing to basically nothing, or to something that only rich people could afford. The rise of AI in artistic spaces will cut out the mid and entry-level jobs for artists. Art for simple phone games, book covers and albums, the dialogue text for background characters in games, the header images used in news articles and blog posts, artwork that hangs in your dentist's office. Art will become a thing that only wealthy people can afford, and the layman will not give two shits, because the average person can't even tell what is and is not AI generated. Nor do they honestly seem to care. I don't even think that the argument of, but look how bad the hands are, is going to hold water in the long run. AI art is the worst that it's ever going to be right now. It'll only get better. Anyway, AI as a field of study and as a concept has been a thing of intrigue for years and years and years. Even going back to ancient Greece with the myth of Talos, a giant constructed entirely of bronze that attacked invading ships and patrolled the island of Crete. People have been making automata for centuries, independently, all over the world. Philosophers have been philosophizing about automating the human brain for forever. I don't have a real issue with the technology behind AI. I think it's pretty incredible and astounding. I briefly looked into ontology and machine learning and... oh man, that shit is so complicated. Just today I came across this incredible video showing how machine learning helped to create the first Spider-Verse movie.
The effects team did this amazing thing where we had the character designer make a library of drawings. That was something we could make rules for. This is the way that nose would look from this head angle to camera. And we made a whole bunch of poses that defined that. And the effects team would recreate those in 3D space with those rules of head angle to camera, and then let the machine learning program try and guess where those drawings would go. And a person would correct it every time it was wrong, making it therefore another rule. And little by little, we're teaching the computer to make drawings that we find redundant.
This is an excellent example of AI done right. Ethically trained, on people's consenting data, trained for a very specific, repetitive, and menial purpose. The issue where it stands is not AI as a concept. It's data privacy. And a copyright protection program, honestly. There's not a hell of a lot that we as tiny insignificant worms in the cog of the world can do, but, I mean, you can get browser extensions that block cookies and not buy from companies that use AI. To anybody that used Lensa and paid money for that shit, I saw that. You're all talk and no spine. As soon as a shiny new AI toy comes along, you just dive headfirst into it, and then you feed it your face. But hell, even I'm using Notion.so to write this text up, and guess what they have? So, I'm looking for a new text organization app. Recommendations, please leave them below. And I know it's just me and other artists that are pissed about being exploited when it comes to art, but honestly, you should be pissed that you are getting exploited too. I mean, if a company switches entirely to AI, and then sells you the product for exactly the same cost, wouldn't you be pissed? They just shaved off all the money that they would be paying artists, and then they're still charging you full price. At least that should make you mad, right? What are your thoughts on AI? Have you ever thought about data privacy at all? Have you come across AI art recently, and what did you think of it? Thanks for sticking with me through this angry rant. I hope you learned something from it. I'll see you in the next video. Bye! Simbib, stuff I make because I'm bored. To paraphrase my favorite tweet, I'm so excited for AI to take over music and painting and writing and art and all the things that give life meanings that we as humans can have more time to do the fun things. Like taxes.